This did not go well. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am wrapping up the books that I picked from my physical TBR from March, and I'm going to pick out the ones that I'm going to read this month in April. It didn't go very well. Let's take a look at what happened. I don't remember what order they came out in, but the first book that I read was About a Girl by Lindsay Kelk. So this is the first in a trilogy. I haven't read any of the trilogy before, but this one is about a girl called Tess, who is having a kind of a nightmare situation at the moment. She's in love with her best friend Charlie and has been for about 10 years, but he has absolutely no idea. So things start to escalate between the two of them. She's having some problems at work. She has lost her job. She's at home one evening and picks up the phone of her roommate Vanessa and is then sent on an assignment to be a photographer for an interview in Hawaii. This was kind of a disappointment for me. I have loved everything by Lindsay Kelk that I've read so far, but this just didn't hit it for me. I don't really know what it was. I think I felt like Tess was just too much of a complainer and too much of a things are not going my way, I'm gonna stamp my foot until I get what's happening. I also felt like there was way too much of a difference between Tess's actual personality and the personality that she had when she was trying to be Vanessa while she was in Hawaii. Something that I did love though about this book is that the main love interest is called Nick Miller, and that absolutely did force me into another rewatch of New Girl, which I hadn't seen in years before I started watching it again. I think I gave this one about 3 stars. I think it dragged a little bit and it felt maybe about 100 pages longer than it should have been. I think it was about 400 and that just felt, maybe it was a little bit too long. I don't know if it could have been about 3 or 350, but maybe there was just a little bit too much detail. There was a little bit too much unnecessary put into it, but I liked it. I think I'll continue on with the series. I just didn't love it. So that was one book done. Next one that I read was Majesty by Catherine McGee. So this is the second in the American Royal series. I think as of now it's just a duology. I am not sure if she's working on a third book in the series. So in this book, Beatrice is now queen following the death of her father in the end of the last book. And she is planning her wedding to Teddy, and Samantha is also in the background looking for love for herself. Daphne is still there trying to get her claws into Jefferson and make a claim to become a princess herself. And you also have Nina, who is getting over the breakup between her and Jefferson and trying to move on with her college studies. I enjoyed this one. I didn't love it as much as I loved American Rose though. I gave that an instant 5 stars. I think I gave this one about a 4, maybe 3.5 to 4 stars. It's just that there was so much a change from the first book into the second one that it felt like a completely different thing. Not only that Beatrice is now the queen and is ruling the country, but every single relationship into which I had invested so much time and so much energy is completely flipped on its head. So Beatrice is with a totally different person. Samantha is with a totally different person. Nina is completely moved on from Jefferson. Jefferson doesn't even really appear that much in this book, which I was kind of disappointed with because I loved him in the first book. So it was really weird to see a character who had been so intrinsic in the first book had pretty much been wiped out for the second one. I didn't really understand why that had been happening. There was also a couple of things that I felt didn't work. I felt like Beatrice and Teddy's relationship was a little bit too insta-love for me, and I am not a huge insta-love fan, so that was a bit of a turn-off. I didn't love this book, but I also didn't hate it. I think I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed About a Girl though, so this one is definitely about a 4-star read for me. And the next book that I read was OMG Diese Aschling by Sarah Breen and Emer McLysaght. So this was the German version of Oh My God, What a Complete Aschling, which I also have on my shelves. I wondered not just how it would translate linguistically, but also culturally, because the book is so intrinsically Irish. Almost every page has a reference to something that's Irish, such as Copperface Jack's, one of our most known nightclubs, or a weather presenter, or a television presenter, or a television show, or just something that you would need to be Irish to know about. And I don't know if it translated super well. I don't know if I would have put a glossary at the end of the book and said, this is what this means, this is what this means. It didn't work for me as a translation, but I still enjoyed the story because I am Irish myself and I know what all of these things mean. So I wasn't really concentrating on how it culturally translated, which I think maybe I should have. And maybe I should have been a little bit more hard on it for how it didn't translate culturally very well. Linguistically, I had a couple of issues. There are a lot of pages, as you will see, with sticky notes on them. And those are all of the pages where I found words that I didn't know. I've already gone through the first maybe 2 or 3 chapters and have translated everything that's there. I still have the entire book left to go. But this hasn't put me off reading a book in German. I think I'm actually going to reach for another one again. And I know that the next time I go back to reading this one, I now have that little sticky note where I can take it off the page and say, I didn't know this word when I was reading it the first time. But now I can put it into better context. I can understand the story a little bit more in the German side. Overall, I enjoyed reading this one, not just for the experience of reading it in a different language and seeing how that would work for me, but also just going back to a story that I had already known, going back to characters that I have known for years and years and watched the development of them from a Facebook group that was started by 2 friends in a sitting room in Dublin to now 50,000 strong members in there. I enjoyed this book. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time I read it, but I think it's still a pretty strong 4-star read. And then we come to the confession. I have sinned. I didn't even look at this book. I haven't even opened the first page. I think I know the reason why. This one seems like a really strong fantasy. I took a look at the blurb a couple of days ago and just said, if it's something that I'm going to be interested to read, I don't really think it's my kind of thing. It's about 2 boys who go and find treasure underneath the sea, but one of the treasures is very dangerous, and finding that and opening it up could be like a Pandora's box situation. Generally, fantasy is not my thing, so I have a feeling I'm not going to pick this one up. And if I did put it back into the bag, which I was going to do with books that had come out that I hadn't read that month, if I put that back into the bag and it comes out again, I don't think I'm going to read it. So what I'm going to do is put it on the pile on my window shelf, which is books that I'm going to donate or books that I'm going to bring to an open street library. But it's not going to be a book that I'm going to reach for. So, because I didn't read that at all, didn't even start it, that does not count as a door that can be opened on this. So, we're behind already. 3 months in and we have gotten 1 door behind. So, where are we starting from? Book number 9 was A Country, the one with the little oath things in them. This is always the hardest part, trying to find where the doors are. Number 10 is a bueno. I can tell by the feel of it. Number 11, number 12 would have been right next door, except that we don't need it. Number 11, I broke that one, is a mini, a little Kinder Mini. Number 12 can't be opened yet, so let's see if I can open number 12 in April. So let's pick some books for April. Tallman had so much fun taking part last time that he wanted to take part again, but he is quite worried about people recognizing his hand. So he has decided to use a kitchen tongs to pick out the first book. So he's going to pick one, I'm going to pick the next, he's going to pick one, and then I'm going to pick the next again. You have such a captive audience that you better get this. How many are you going to take out? Just one. There's nothing in that. Okay, just one. Drop the other 2. Thank you. So, book number 1 for April is Unfiltered by Sophie White. Good choice. So, this is the second book of the series. I think the first one was called Filter This, and it follows Ali White, who is a wannabe blogger, wannabe influencer, and also another blogger called Shelby, who is living a life on Instagram and living a completely separate life in reality. This book kind of discusses what Instagram versus reality is really like and the lengths that people will go to become an influencer. I really enjoyed book 1. I cannot wait to pick this one up. So my first pick for April is A Keeper by Graham Norton. Big Irish theme so far, which we could have done with last month. But it's okay, I'm not going to argue with it. So, this one is A Keeper by Graham Norton. I got this in Cologne in September of last year. Hadn't read it yet, obviously, so now we're going to get to it. So, this one is, I believe, about a woman called Elizabeth, whose mother has died and she's come back to the family home to kind of clean up after it and sort through her mother's belongings and finds a letter from her mother's past, and then goes on a journey to discover who wrote it, what the contents are, and why that's relevant to her life and situation. Number 3. Just one. Okay, I'm going to take those 2, and then that. Pick one, left or right? Okay. So, his second pick was You Have a Match by Emma Lord. I got that one just recently, actually. Oh, it's way underneath. "25 hours later, I found You Have a Match by Emma Lord." So this one is Emma's second book. I don't think it's in any way connected to the first one that she had out. I just got this last month. So I think that this is the newest one that we're going to see, unless this one was one that I bought like yesterday. That didn't happen. So as far as I know, this one is about Abby. I couldn't remember if her name was Ali or Abby, who signs up for a DNA service as part of a project that she's doing for work. And through that discovers a long lost half sister or full sister that she didn't know anything about. And then goes on a journey to discover what her sister is like and try to build a relationship and friendship with her. I have genuinely been looking forward to this. This has been, so far, a really good month. And then the final one is The Year That Changed Everything by Kathy Kelly. 3 Irish books came out the month after the Irish Readathon. Typically. So, this one is The Year That Changed Everything by Kathy Kelly. I'm going to be honest, absolutely no idea what this one is about. None. I bought it for 2 reasons. One, the cover is really nice. And second reason, my mom is a big Kathy Kelly fan. And I knew, when I read this, I could swap it over with her. Quite soon after I bought it, and quite soon then after I read it. I bought this in January 2019. It's now March, as I film this, 2021. It was still on that shelf, so that hasn't been read yet. So that is a very colourful stack of books that I have got waiting for me for April of 2021. I am actually really excited for all of these. These are all books that I would have picked myself anyway for the month. So let me see how I get on with them, and we'll check back in at the end of April and see if I've actually read them and if I can open any more of these doors. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here. Wave.